Welcome back to Mad Marketing TV. This is the after party with Jonathan Kantor from the Affam Group. Jonathan, glad to have you back on the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, yeah, it was a fun show, and I'm a big fan of white papers, so I was really excited about when you said you were on the show. So it's great. Tell me about long-form content compared to, say, a two-pager cheat sheet or video or whatever. Where do you think this kind of long-form content plays in marketing today?
Well, when you look at the entire library of business deliverables, you have often two different scales. On one hand, you have brochures, which are really much more about image marketing, how to convey the image of a company with a very little amount of text, mostly design and imagery to convey emotion, if you will, to get someone emotionally connected to that particular corporation. On the other hand, you have very technical information, such as users' manuals and technical guides, and there's really nothing in the middle. And white papers occupy that middle ground, and so essentially it's taking, when you have a complex business message to convey and you want to educate a reader as to the business value behind that solution, you really need that middle ground that's going to go into a little bit more detail than a brochure, but also appeal to them in terms of adding some visual elements, things such as charts and concept graphics, a nice, appealing, professional design similar to an annual report. But it's when that customer wants a little bit more meat on the bones in terms of getting closer to completing a sale, and brochures aren't going to cut it. A two-page overview isn't going to cut it. A web page or just a few paragraphs on a website aren't really going to give them what they need. You really need a white paper to give them that detailed educational value to convince them that you are a very worthy prospect to consider as part of their solution evaluation.
So basically it's beyond the manuals, and it really provides the educational content that people are looking for. Now, what is the way you want to create a white paper in terms of, one of my beliefs, and correct me if I'm wrong, is we want to focus instead on what our product is and what it does. We want to focus more on what the buyer problem is and how they solve it. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I like to look at it as assuming someone knows nothing about your company and they know nothing about your solution. What would you need to give to them to walk them through a logical progression of information to get them to the point where they're ready to buy? And when you think about that task, you would need to first educate them perhaps as to what's going on in the business environment, maybe the industry, some of the dynamics, some of the business challenges that they are facing, so you can build affinity with them and certainly convey to them that you know what you're talking about. That might involve statistics, it might involve news articles that relate to the topic. Then you would need to move to a list, perhaps, of specific business problems that they are experiencing vis-a-vis that topic. Maybe it's an issue of cost or an issue of a technical problem, perhaps an issue of productivity. And then when you have a list of business problems that are very specific to their need, then you can talk about your solution from an overview standpoint, perhaps from a strategic standpoint, and then how that strategy solves those specific problems. That's how you earn respect with that customer, and you walk them through that process to get them to then that point where you can say, here's why you should consider our company, here's why you should consider our solution advantage. If you don't have that information at the front end, that background information and that business challenge assessment, you haven't earned the right to just jump right in and give them a solution advantage story. You have to earn that right and that educational value to then say, okay, now here's the solution that we have for you to solve whatever problem you may be experiencing.
That's a great point, that you really need to understand the problems that they're having and the industry trends and talk about that to earn their trust to start selling them of what your company can do. So those are some great tips. Tell us again about that white paper that you have that people should download.
Well, it's not only, as I mentioned before, I have a book out called Crafting White Paper 2.0, and I wanted to produce a white paper that really embodied the spirit of everything that I had talked about in the book. What would a next generation white paper 2.0 look like? And so with that goal in mind, I designed a white paper that had everything that I talked about in the book. It has a professional design. It's approximately 6 pages in length. It has a very bulletized and succinct executive summary. I use graphic elements to talk about industry trends and to talk about the 3-layered model of how today's reader is actually skimming and going through a layered process of assimilating information in a white paper. So it really is an example of what I had been talking about. I felt it was necessary to have a proof of concept. If I'm going to talk about what a next generation looks like, I might as well have one out there to give and provide the reader as an example of in real life of what I'm talking about. So I use this white paper. It's called Ensuring that Busy Executives, that your information appeals to today's busy executive readers. You can find it on a link on my homepage at whitepapercompany.com. There's a link there for a free white paper, and you can click on that and download that. And that will give you essentially what I'm talking about of how dramatically different it is from most all-text Generation 1 white papers, but it will give you an idea of where the white paper medium is evolving to and how your information really needs to change to capture lead generation and new prospective customers.
That's some great information. So basically, for people watching the show, go to whitepapercompany.com and download that free white paper. Jonathan, I want to thank you for being a great guest on the show. We've really enjoyed having you and sharing your insights with our audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure talking with you.